Hello there, lovely people, it's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and today I'm going to tell you why this thing here is actually useful and not just a useless add-on on the right Joy-Con. Is it the right one? Yeah, it's the right one. Yes, the IR camera. Now this is a bit of a weird thing. On the right Joy-Con you have this thing at the bottom here, and that's actually an infrared camera, in case you don't know, which means that basically if the application or the game wants to, it can actually see your hand, you know, because it's giving off infrared light in the form of heat waves. I'm not a Scientologist, so I don't expect really scientific talk here. And it can also measure distance, because I believe there are 2 sensors in there. Maybe, I don't know. But what I do know is that this has only been used for one game. More specifically, one game within a game, one mini game. It's in 1-2 switch, and it's just a sandwich eating thing where you go to eat a sandwich. And it's not exactly doing it any favours, is it? So what sort of application can this thing actually have without going down the road of, you know, doing this, as I've already done about 15 seconds ago? Probably wasn't even that. Well, I'll have you know that I researched for literally hours, and I mean like 5 or 6 hours, looking at different things that you can do with IR cameras and all these different things, left, right, centre, looking at what can be done, looking at what couldn't be done, and all these sort of things, and I didn't come to a lot of conclusions, unfortunately. I felt like I had these vague ideas, but nothing really tangible to really grip onto, and I was really frustrated. I got so flummoxed that I reached out to a colleague and said, you know, can you give me any rough ideas about it? And he said, well, what are you trying to work on? And I said something to do with the IR camera, you know, what is actually good. Maybe you can have some sort of, you know, peripheral going in there somehow controlling it, maybe through some sort of switches or something. And he cut me off and he said, oh, you mean like the Circle Pad Pro for the 3DS? Have you ever wanted to simultaneously thank and throttle someone? It's a complex series of emotions. But colleague side aside, yes, that is a very sensible way of looking at things. I even had a like giant one for the 3DS XL, the Circle Pad Pro thing. I used it for Monster Hunter so much, I can't believe I completely forgot about it. So I did feel rather stupid. But yes, what a clever and sensible and elegant solution to pretty much anything you could want from a Joy-Con. If you don't believe me, then just think about the Circle Pad Pro. It had additional buttons, it even had an additional control stick. So clearly IR can transfer a lot of data very effectively. You know, there's probably some limitation, but even so, you know, did anyone ever have any problems with the Circle Pad Pro? I know I didn't. Floods of ideas started filling my head. You could strap anything onto this, a case that goes around it that has a little infrared transmitter on the end there, and you could add anything you wanted on there. Extra buttons. You could have maybe, you know, analog triggers, which honestly you could do because, as I said, you know, it had an additional circle pad on there, so it can have that sort of wide range of signals going through. You can have anything you wanted. You could have different kinds. You could have like wheels or dials. You could create a custom Joy-Con, a custom way to control a game without producing an entire Joy-Con, which is an extremely exciting prospect. After the reveal of the Switch, there were so many people creating custom Joy-Con ideas. Like there was a Korg one, which allowed you to have like volume and control and stuff like that. I don't know whether it was volume, but you know, sort of music-based stuff. So it had wheels and stuff like that. And there were all sorts, you know, there was like GameCube-style controllers and stuff like that. But the major problem with all of these is that whilst, yes, they are wonderful, you have to produce an entire Joy-Con, which is expensive. It's not only expensive for the manufacturer, but of course, then it would be expensive for the consumer, so people wouldn't necessarily buy them. You know, you'd have to be really hardcore in order to buy a peripheral, you know, an entire Joy-Con just for one game, possibly. But you know, sorry, I'm excited. This is genuinely really exciting. The possibilities of having different kind of buttons, different kind of this, maybe having 4 sticks, I don't know, tank controls, you know, anything you want, all of a sudden, is entirely possible. This is like a USB port for anything you could possibly want, because I'm imagining that this is open to third parties. Third parties can use this. Why wouldn't they be able to? And so all of a sudden, it's like a gateway into all the things you could possibly do, and I am kind of overselling it. But you can't deny it's exciting. The possibilities of being able to have any kind of cheap, plasticky thing that you just strap on, and you have custom controls and is powered by, I don't know, a AAA battery. Infrared uses next to no. The word I was looking for is power. The only downside is, and especially if you're going for things like the analog triggers and stuff like that, It doesn't happen on the other Joy-Con, does it? This is just, it doesn't have it. In fact, this does feel a little bit lighter. Never noticed that. So if you want analog triggers, it's either going to have to be confined to just this one. You know, I'm going to swap it around so it's the right way around. It's either going to be confined just to this Joy-Con and not this one, which feels a little bit sort of counterintuitive, or maybe you have a different sort of like casey jacket thing that you put over here that has the same controls and transmits to this one, maybe wirelessly, and then that gets transferred through to there. It's a bit of a mess. But you know what, even taking that into consideration, I still think that this is a very exciting prospect, and I wonder whether maybe this was Nintendo's plan from the start, you know, to have this sort of universal adapter thing here. I mean, they had it with the 3DS, no one had any idea what they were going to use it for, but they found a use, and it was a very good use. The Circle Pad Pro actually made Monster Hunter a joy to play, which it wasn't before. But enough of what I think. What do you think? Can you think of any interesting applications for this little IR camera here that maybe, you know, goes completely against what I just said? Or maybe you think it is totally useless? Let us know your thoughts down there in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you send an infrared signal towards that subscribe button, which I think is down there now, saying, I wish to subscribe to Nintendo Life, and make sure you go about it quickly, post haste, and be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye.